as small space gardeners, we've tried a whole lot of things, right? Because we take big risk. It's hard to grow things in a small space, but if you can, then cool, big risk, big reward. But also sometimes it's big risk, big failure. And we've had our varying degrees of success and failures in things we've tried to grow in small spaces, just because we kind of want to see if it works. One of the things we've tried to do here is grow fruit trees in containers. All right, and we've planted them in these large muck buckets, like what you see here, with varying degrees of success. We put, you know, holes in the bottom of them, trying to make sure there's drainage, and we plant them with a good amount of loose potting soil in them. But sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, and that's why you see empty ones right here. This is simply put, maybe it hasn't worked as well. Now, could it be our fault? Could we have done it a little differently? Could I fertilize them a little more? Could I water them a little harder? I don't know the stinking answer to it, to be honest with you. But I do know we've had some trees that just simply didn't make it. Whether it be a peach tree, an apricot tree, a cherry tree, whatever. We've tried all that stuff. We plant apple trees in there, and this one behind me is an apple tree that is still alive. So it's been a couple years since we planted that one, maybe. Well, but we like planting fig trees. Planting fig trees has been really, really fun, actually. And we've gotten a good amount of figs, you know, small figs out of them within a couple of years. And then they just didn't come back for whatever reason. It's cold here. The only fig trees we've tried is the Chicago Hardy, because it's supposed to be able to handle colder temperatures. So it does get cold here, ground does freeze. Figs don't usually like that. So we've had varying success with them. And right now we don't have any fig trees in muck buckets. But we do have this fig tree here that I think it just simply got survivor genetics. It's amazing. And the reason I say that is because this pile right here is just brush, junk, stuff that we wind up having to burn every year. And this fig tree was in some soil out of a mug bucket that was basically, it was terrible soil, by the way. We didn't plant it very well. We could have planted it better. And this whole area has been set on fire probably 3 or 4 times since this fig tree's been dumped here. And it's still alive. It actually came back this year out of nowhere, and it's grown really well. Now it's not going to produce figs. Okay, it's not going to produce figs this year, but it is alive and well and thriving. So trying to figure out how to keep it alive. We need to save this fig tree because it's got some survivor genetics. It's got something hardy inside of it that's staying alive. So the goal today is to get that out of there and keep it alive and keep it growing somehow. Now truthfully, I don't know where exactly these roots are going to go at. It's really solid and rocky down here, so I don't necessarily know where these roots are. I just need to kind of get in here and see if I can find them, or I can get something out without destroying the roots, basically. Dig around and see. I don't know, that's the key here, is to get these out without destroying the root. It's not going to be easy. We got to keep digging somewhere. But obviously the roots are in there. Just got to find out where they're at. You can see here, it's actually grown 2 different places. One really good strong spot here, and another one right here. Then another little one right here beside it. It's right next to this one. It's worth trying to save. I mean, see some roots coming out right here. Let's see. I feel like I could pull it up right now without much effort, but I don't want to rip all the roots apart. I'd rather keep it intact if I could. I guess maybe you could separate it and plant 2 of them. I don't know. That's not effective. That one just broke off. Let's see. Yeah. As long as you have roots, maybe it's okay, right? Let's see. So we can come up with here. There's a main root. Okay. Well, it just kind of came up. That broke off. That's not good. Let's see. So this is what we came up with here. Alright, so this is what I came up with here. It's got roots intact, right? We have roots intact. So let's see what we can do with that. Now, in order to try and save this tree, right, we gotta get some soil in a muck bucket. Now, there's multiple reasons why we plant them in a muck bucket like this. One of the reasons is just it's space saving. Another one is like, if you move, you can take it with you, right? So you don't have to put a tree in the ground and then leave it there if you sell your property. You can take it with you this way, and then honestly, if you get to your forever home, you can replant it then into the ground if you would like. But it's multiple reasons, and it's just space saving. Take it with you, and honestly, just kind of cool if you can plant something in a container and get fruit out of it, which we have done with fig trees. So I'm just gonna finish putting a lot of this soil. This is a combination of potting mix and compost that we've made that we've used for other plants this year in grow bags and whatnot. We're gonna fill this container up with that soil and try to get that tree planted. Now at this point, I've gotten about a little less than half full of this soil. I've moistened that soil down really well, and I put some all-purpose fertilizer in there just so when the roots get down in there, they've got something to feed on. Yes, making that soil wet is going to make it a little heavier to move back to where I want it at, but it really needs that moisture and that fertilizer there at this point. That way you can just get everything in there. I'm going to mix that fertilizer in just a little bit right there, because those roots will get down in there and they do need something to feed on, because that soil's been worked over this year already. Now at this point, you need to start kind of paying attention to where your soil level is and how big your root is on your tree, to make sure that you give the root plenty of space to get down in there, but also to make sure that you're not shortchanging yourself on soil, because you're going to want the soil up to above this last root, right? And you're actually, with potting mix especially, which is what you need for the containers, okay, you always need to use potting mix. It needs a good light soil, because pots are going to heat up, and if it's not a good light soil, the soil is going to compact and then going to restrict the root growth. So you're going to want to make sure it's potting soil, potting mix, potting soil, something really light again, and it's always going to settle. Remember that. So you're going to want to fill this thing up a lot taller than what the level is, because the soil level will drop as it goes on, okay, and as the soil settles, it'll be like down here, and you're going to wish that soil level was up to here, because the more soil volume you have in there, the more space this root has to grow. Okay, so again, start paying attention to where you're at, and make sure that you know the level that you're going to want this soil at, and where you're going to want this tree planted at in this container. Okay, and then this looks like it's going to be about right once I get the soil up around it. So kind of have an understanding of that. Maybe you'll even leave your tree here as you start putting the rest of your soil in this container. Now at this point, we're not quite done with the soil yet, I don't think, but I've got a little bit of bone meal left from this year. I'm going to mix it in. Honestly, we're just mixing in everything we can to give this tree the best chance of survival. We'll mix that in. We've got some blood meal for growing. So bone meal is good for root growth, okay? But blood meal is good for just growing plants. It's going to give you energy. It's nitrogen, okay? Bone meal is phosphorus. Blood meal is nitrogen, okay? So it's a little stronger. So don't be scared of it, especially blood milk, okay? Because it is organic, so it's not chemical based, but it's still strong. All right. So just understand that when you're planting something like this, it might need some help. It might need some nitrogen to give it a little jump start and get it off to the right track, okay? But you may not want to go crazy with it. Now this soil is essentially dormant, okay? It's dried out and it's been used, so it's not really great right now. So the soil is going to eat as well as the plant's going to eat. So you do understand that things will happen, and this will need a little bit more fertilization than what you might normally do based off of that. So I did a little bit of that. Now I'm also going to do some just all-purpose fertilizer here, okay? This is, again, all organic. So we just want to make sure that you're giving this tree the best chance at survival, and not just surviving, but thriving, right? So we're going to do all that, mix all that in real good, and then at this point water this down, okay, so that you can see if you're going to need more, how much more soil you're going to need to top it off with. Because once you water it, it will start settling, okay? Do want you to be aware as well, zoomed in a little bit so you can see this soil being as dry as it is, it will take on much more water than what you might think, okay? Like a potting soil and potting mix that is this dry, you can just pressurize water into it and to get water down below the surface where you need it, because it's going to take on so much. It's going to take on so much moisture, and you're going to think, oh, it's running off of it. It's going to be just fine. And if you dig down in there, it's dry just below that surface, okay? And so it's going to be messy for your fingers, but you know what? Wet dirt washes off. So just be aware that it's going to take a bunch, and plant it in the sun. The container's going to dry up, going to get warm, and going to dry up that soil. It's okay to get this soil super wet, okay? You can't really get too much moisture in it at this point, because your plant, your tree, whatever you're putting in there is going to need it, and it's just going to soak up that moisture anyways. It doesn't matter, okay? So make sure you really pay attention to how much moisture your soil can take on. Something else to really pay attention to is that as you get this soil moistened down really well, your tree's going to need some stability, okay? Because this soil is so light that it's going to want to lean over one way or the other. So as you get that soil moistened up, it's going to add some weight and some strength to it, right? So get your tree to the position you want it, upright, or if you're even planting a shrub, do the same thing with a shrub, okay? And take that moist, super wet soil and bring it up like this and pack it around the base of this tree or shrub, and really give it some strength and stability there. That's going to help it stay upright. Then it's also going to reveal like how much more soil you can put in here. See, it's going to give all this space here, because now this soil level is where you want it, but I have all this empty space here, so you can put more soil around this edge after you start really getting it moistened down good. But before you do that, kind of use this as a catch-all for your water, so you keep watering this down. The water's going to run and it can pool right here as it soaks in. And once you're done watering, you think you got enough water down to the base, to the bottom of the soil inside the container, then fill this up with more soil and wet that soil down as well, okay? And one final instruction is maybe put yourself a couple of bamboo stakes or rods, whatever you got, some kind of stabilizer down next to the tree, like you would if you're putting it in your yard, right? Just to stabilize it and keep it straight and level, and just tie it up however you need to. Like this one, it's kind of went off this way, so I'm gonna try and put two in there. I'm gonna try and keep this piece tied right here, and I'm gonna try and keep this down here at the bottom tied at the base, keep it from leaning that way. So I'm gonna tie this to here and then this to here, just to try to keep it straight with some structure. All right, and now as my chicken decides to just cackle her brains out, I don't know if you can hear that or not, we're gonna call this pretty much done. I'm gonna cut off this trim work here, this excess, stuff here, finish watering it, and then finish filling it full of soil. But those are all just semantics, right? So thank you guys so much for watching. Do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you. Goodbye.